Hello, Sam.
Yeah.
How are you? This is Frank DeFreitas.
Oh, hi.
It's good to talk to you.
Yeah.
Why don't we start off? I know there's a lot of information on the website about the holography, FAQ or fact, but maybe the listeners who aren't familiar with it or who have just accessed it to get information and haven't read any history about it, maybe you could give us a rundown of the history, because I know it's been on the web for a long time.
Well, my website has been up since somewhere around 1994. And it started out from my actually boredom at the company I worked for, which had taken over a startup that I was involved in initiating. And when it becomes a big company, things just become ho-hum.
Mm-hmm.
So out of boredom, I started exploring the Internet, which, of course, at that time was very, very new.
Oh, absolutely. In 1994, I don't even think it supported photos, did it? If I remember correctly.
It probably was just about at the time that
Mosaic
came around.
Yeah.
That was the first browser I used.
Mm-hmm.
There may even be some references to it on my website in various places
Yeah.
that I haven't updated. But at that time, I was mainly interested in electronics repair and started frequenting the Usenet news groups, and there are now tens of thousands of them. At that time, there were somewhat fewer, but there were several involved in technology. One in particular was called Sci.electronics.repair. There were several electronics groups.
Mm-hmm. Alt Lasers. Alt Lasers is a fairly new group, isn't it?
Alt Lasers. I don't know how new it is. It's newer than those are. But
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
still was.
Yeah. Relatively speaking.
But it's probably been there for 10 years now.
Yeah.
So Sci Electronics Repair, I was replying to requests for help in repairing everything from CD players to lawnmowers, and that's how the electronics repair fact site developed. Basically, Philip, whose last name I can't pronounce, who ran a website from Pittsburgh, had some information on electronics, but when he saw the replies I was providing, he asked if I would be interested in uploading them to his website.
Mm-hmm.
And so that began the development of all the various repair manuals that are up there now.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, I think it started out more for repair than it was a reference or a resource, right?
Well, it was a resource for repair.
For repair, yeah.
But not. I mean, the lasers didn't happen until much later.
Yeah.
There's prior to that, a friend of mine. Now, I should preface this that I've been aware of lasers since basically when they were invented.
Yeah.
But aside from using a helium neon laser, probably an early Metrologic in high school to view this Scientific American hologram centerfold at that time, and various other little things with lasers, I really didn't do anything with them. Around 1990, a friend of mine asked me why I didn't have any lasers, so I couldn't exactly let that stand, so I ordered a couple of helium neon lasers from a surplus supplier, put them together. I mean, that was just basically wiring a power supply and laser tube and plugging it in and saying, wow, okay. As soon as my friend discovered they wouldn't burn anything, he lost interest. And I lost interest. I put them on the shelf for several years.
Well, we're seeing that all over again now with the 1 million watt laser pointers that are modified.
The 1 million watt laser pointer, or when they, when they say capital M instead of small m, don't realize what they're doing.
Yeah. A terawatt.
Yeah, terrible. Then a few years after starting the repair website, it became apparent that there were occasional questions about lasers even on the electronics sites, electronics news groups, and the responses from people were usually wrong, or at least very often wrong.
Yeah, that hasn't changed either.
That hasn't changed. So I started developing that, and basically what the laser FAQ is today developed from an 18 kilobyte file on how to safely power a laser diode from a CD player without blowing it up. And I have that actual file is archived and linked from my site. So if anybody really has absolutely positively nothing to do and they want to look at that, they can find it.
What has that grown into today? How many web pages do you have total? Do you happen to know offhand?
I have no idea.
I know I've been lost in there sometimes at night. Oh.
I think there are people that get lost in there for months, and we don't.
You're a deity on the web when it comes to lasers. I mean, people are just going to fall over when they hear you on this show. I know it.
Yeah, Google apparently does a pretty good job also, because almost any search on lasers will turn up a link to my website in the top 10.
What's the latest news on lasers? I guess the green's the hot item right now, huh?
From the point of view of holographers, I think what has developed in the last couple of years is that I've put together a lot of information on two excellent lasers for holography, which are the coherent compass and the uniphase microgreen. These are both single mode, single frequency, very long coherence length, and generally readily available surplus for well under $1,000 if you know where to look.
Yeah.
Now that's more than a helium neon, but we're talking about coherence lengths of hundreds of meters. And the comment I had, main comment I've heard about these is someone was making holograms and was complaining that the junk on the back shelf in the studio came out sharp in the hologram.
I've heard of that happening with a few regular laser pointers.
Yeah, but the problem with laser pointers is you can't do it consistently.
Yeah.
There's no real known way to select a laser diode or to stabilize it to such an extent that you can guarantee that you'll have that. The particular type of laser diode, how it's manufactured, the impurities in it, so many things go into a laser diode that change its characteristics compared to even a diode pump solid state laser. And the main problem is that the diodes really do like to run multi-longitudinal mode. I mean, so what you have to do is temperature tune it and output power tune it, and very carefully find a point where it just happens to be running single mode, and you're lucky if you can maintain that. I mean, as you're aware, that people do make very excellent holograms with laser diodes, but they probably cherish those laser diodes that work well like that.
Yeah, I have one that's been functioning for me since, I'd like to say 1999 or 2000, maybe.
I don't think it's a matter of modern versus old. I think it's just a matter of getting one that happens to be well behaved.
Yeah. And
then temperature controlling it, keeping it happy.
Would you recommend some people going on to eBay? I haven't purchased any lasers off of eBay, but what's your experience, and what would your recommendation be for people to buy a laser surplus on eBay, or would you have a better recommendation somewhere?
I think it really depends on knowing what you're interested in, knowing what you're buying, and then researching the seller. I've gotten most of my junk lasers on eBay. I mean, I've probably bought somewhere between 50 and 100 lasers or laser items on eBay, and I've basically had very few bad experiences.
Yeah.
But that comes from knowing what's being offered, knowing what it actually is, not just going and picking the first laser that seems like it might be what you want. There are a lot of helium neon lasers on eBay. There are a lot of green lasers on eBay now, but most of those are not suitable for holography.
Yeah.
They're multi-mode, either multi-transverse mode or multi-longitudinal mode, and a lot of them are just in Far East import junk.
Yeah, and that's becoming an issue now, having to order overseas and having it shipped into the United States, isn't it? Or is that just generally with the green pointers more so?
I think it's the green pointers right now because of the hysteria about the incidents with airplanes.
Yeah.
And I should comment that most of that is total hysteria. There's no way a green pointer, even a modified green pointer, is going to blind a pilot at 10,000. These things, they just have legs. They just have a life of their own, these stories. And unfortunately, that may work to the detriment of the honest and serious laser community.
Yeah, over time, I fear that myself. Yeah.
There's just so much wrong information, incomplete information that just has no basis in reality.
Do you feel that the authorities know the true answer? Know the correct information, or no?
I doubt it. I think it's just they haven't really gotten experts to evaluate it. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't think they're suppressing it.
Yeah.
Although it's certainly it's better
Caution. Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, to suggest that someone, testing a green pointer, a normal 5 milliwatt green pointer, and shining it up in the sky, and is causing retinal damage on the pilot's eye. I mean, that's so far way out of left field in terms of probabilities that it's just totally impossible.
I understand totally what you're saying, and so do most of the listeners. Well, I had a guy that was out in Arizona that I had written emails back and forth to very early on when I was on the net, and he had some high-power YAG lasers, and one of their hobbies was to bounce it off the retroreflectors on the moon. Yeah, just as, fun. I guess that's totally over with. You certainly don't want to get caught doing that now.
Well, you need spotters. You're going to have spotters to make sure there's no air traffic in the vicinity. But you're not going to hurt anybody as long as you don't hit anything.
Yeah.
But even doing that is a very difficult problem. People think, you just hit the moon. It's a parallel beam of light. You just aim it at the moon, you get a reflection back. Mm-hmm. There's some information on my website somewhere about how many photons actually make it back.
Yeah.
And it's not many.
Mm-hmm.
Every so often you get somebody emailing me or posting on all-dot lasers. I'd like to put an advertisement on the moon.
I know. Let's not get into the emails. I'll tell you. I know.
The last one, if you looked at all-dot lasers, there was some guy who wanted to cut flowers or plants or something with a laser. And then he got upset when people said that's a kind of a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Or there are always people asking, can I cut lawn? Can I cut grass? Or can I cut wood? Or something? There are applications for lasers where you do that, but to suggest that it's going to be better than a $100 Sears lawnmower to
that's
cut
true.
With a laser.
That's true. There you go. You offer some equipment for sale, or correct me if I'm wrong, on your website.
Most of it is surplus. Some of it's from eBay. Some of it's just stuff I've collected.
Now, is this functional equipment, non-functional?
Well, it's certainly, if it states it's functional, it's going to be functional, guaranteed.
Oh, sure. But I wasn't sure which way it was with what you were selling.
Most of it, there's a lot of helium neon lasers, and I don't have the green lasers because I've just not really gotten into buying those for resale.
Mm-hmm.
But helium neon lasers, I'll pick up if they're cheap enough, and then they're available, sometimes with power supplies. There are some assorted diode lasers, but mostly IR, for diode pump lasers for DPSS.
Do you know of any schools or educational facilities that use your website on a regular basis for teaching?
There's one. There's this Stony Brook Laser Teaching Center. It's on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
They use my website. There's actually several. I can't think of the others, but they use the website, or their students use my website, or in fact they bought equipment from me because I have some some helium neon Brewster laser tubes that are useful for teaching, where you have an external mirror and a window instead of an internal mirror, as most lasers do now.
I have a Spectraphysics 124B Stabilite that I need a tube for.
Yeah, so do I.
Do you?
The problem is that everything's fine except the tube is a soft seal tube, so it leaks.
Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of those out there. There are lots of the really big one, the 125, which is a 6-foot long laser.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those dead tubes.
That's a workhorse.
There are 127s, which are actually good lasers, and you can pick up half-decent ones on eBay and elsewhere for a couple $100.
Yeah.
But not the 127 so much as the tube in it, and you need a power supply.
Mm-hmm.
But those some of them are in mint condition. I have a 127 laser that's in mint condition.
Oh, really?
Puts out over 39 milliwatts.
Wow. That's hard sealed tubes in a 127, right?
It's a sealed tube. It's a sealed tube. Some of them apparently have either hard seal or optical contact seals or something that don't leak. But a lot of them have had tubes that leak. So you can get stuck with something that might be weak. Typical ones on eBay I've found probably in the 20 milliwatt range, which is still decent. I mean, you've still got to see reasonably high power and stability and everything. It's just the power that's not as high as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be careful about those because you can get one that's just no good at all.
Yeah.
And but they're available, and they're obviously they're the best helium neon holography laser you can reasonably get at a reasonable price nowadays.
Yeah.
No.
What? Let me ask you this. I don't follow anything to do with any blue wavelengths. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the blue, where it's at, where do you see it going? I know Sony or a couple of the Japanese companies have their DVD players that's going to be coming out in the blue.
There are two ways of getting reasonable power blue right now that are popular. One is the DPSS laser, like the green, except that there's a different lasing line, both for YAG and for Vanadate. They're blue lines. They're IR lines that will double to blue. Vanadate has 946, which doubles to 457, which is a very beautiful deep blue. It's a beautiful blue, but it's so close to the
ultraviolet
that the visibility is several times lower than the Heaney Heaney visibility. So they don't tend to use that a lot for laser shows, but I mean it would be good for holograms probably. If there's a film material that you can use. Then there's the YAG line doubles to 473. That's more like that's a blue. That's a decent blue, and it's about the same visibility, maybe a little less than the Heaney red.
But as far as diode systems that would be operational in single mode,
single mode, the issue again, you don't without an external cavity with a DFB, distributed feedback or grading or something to force single mode, you have the same problem you have with the red lasers. Finding it, but obviously there are blue diode lasers now, at least to 440, maybe even longer wavelengths. Well, decent power, tens of milliwatts, 50 milliwatts. They're the Nikkei gallium nitride diodes. So they have a whole range of diodes from near UV beyond 400 to 440 or 450.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to mortgage your house to buy one.
Oh my goodness. I had to take out a loan for my spectrophysics when I got it from my lab. That was 36 monthly payments. It was almost like a car payment for me back then. I had three young kids and
124 back then with plus what was the cost? 10,000.
Oh, the 124B. I'm thinking $59.95.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm thinking that, which was, believe it or not, to me back then, that was a fortune.
Well, sure.
You know. But fortunately, things are. I've done some nice holograms that compare to the 124B with a couple laser pointers now.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Well, we must be neighbors. You don't have to say on the air where you're from, but we both have the same area code.
I'm in southeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, me too. A little further up northwest of Philadelphia, I am. I was born and raised in Philly. Yeah. Well, is there anything you want to add to the show? I think everyone's going to love to hear you on the show, and of course we're doing the podcasting now. Just got involved with iTunes.
Podcast now.
Oh, geez.
The whole world's changing.
Yeah. 8 years now for this broadcast. So this was it wasn't podcasting back then, but it was really early on, to do a talk show about holography on the net when it started 8 years ago. But iTunes now, everybody can subscribe to it and have it automatically update onto their iPods and then go do what they want to do and listen to it. So that's a whole new realm for.
You think it's a good thing?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, to tell you the truth. And one of the things that concerns me about it is the fact that Apple's really not investing anything in outside of the fact that they'll give you a listing. But for their millions of subscribers, anybody who wants to listen to the show, your data transmission is your own responsibility. So that adds on to your bandwidth and the amount of data that you transfer to people from iTunes. So for no investment whatsoever, they're getting all the free shows in there. And plus, I don't know, I think just like with your website, I think anybody who's involved with this field or has an interest in it probably knows about this already. So I don't know what type of genre I'm going to be pulling, but we'll have to see.
Of course, one of the problems I have with my website is I often find people using pieces of it without permission.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'll go after them if they do that.
Oh, yeah?
If they're making money off it, I'll go.
Oh, okay, yeah. That would be fair to do, sure.
Go after them.
Yeah, you're not making any money directly off of it, that's for sure, right?
If anything, it costs money.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, the only money I make is off the junk I sell for sale. for sale page.
Same thing with me with the shows. You know,
Because it's you love.
Yeah, I like to do it. I started doing it. I would be doing this whether anybody was listening to it or not 8 years ago. I just felt like talking about it, and there was nobody to talk to, so I put a microphone in front of my mouth.
And back then, it wasn't as easy as it is now.
No, it wasn't. And it's been expensive on occasions. You know, whenever I do a show from England, before I got this new service, some of those shows cost over $100. I'd get the phone bill. My wife would open the phone bill up, and she'd say, "Have you seen this?" You know? So, but now I have a good service. I think I get London now for like 11 cents a minute or something. Well, Sam, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. There's probably a lot of questions that other people would have asked you that I did not, so I apologize for that.
Well,
you can't get everything.
Feel free to contact me via the link on my webpage.
Yes, and I will make sure that there is a link directly to your webpage for all the listeners. And if you're listening through iTunes and you don't even know what website this is coming from, it's coming from holoworld.com. You'll see a link in the iTunes directory. Go to the website, go to HoloTalk, and you'll see Sam's link, and you can go click on that and go right over to it. Sam, have a good rest of the evening. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I know people are going to love it.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, take care.
Right, bye.
Bye.